In the early hours of December 9th, a fierce fire broke out at Hailiang Square in Hohhot, spreading from the ground floor all the way to the rooftop. The flames roared up in the building, with burning debris constantly falling down. The intensity of the fire reminded people of the blaze in Hong Kong on November 26th. According to reports from Chinese media, the fire started in a barbecue restaurant on the first floor around midnight. Most residents of the building were already asleep, and the fire wasn't noticed in time. The restaurant had a lot of flammable materials, such as tables, chairs, food packaging, and decorative items, which fueled the flames and caused the fire to quickly spiral out of control. Thick smoke and intense heat rapidly spread throughout the building. Residents were suddenly awoken from their sleep and had to run downstairs. A netizen posted a video of the evacuation process. The temperature in Hohhot had dropped below freezing that night, and the residents who escaped were shivering in the cold wind, watching as their homes were consumed by the flames. They became homeless overnight. There's still people inside.
Definitely people in there. People live in there? It's impossible that there's no one.
This side is a residential building.
If there's a residential building next door, that's trouble. What time is it now?
3 o'clock.
Then it's trouble. There must be people inside.
The Hohhot police reported that at 2:14 a.m. on December 9th, a fire broke out at a barbecue restaurant on the first floor of Hailiang Square. The fire was extinguished by 3:26 a.m., but it resulted in 1 death. At the same time, the police also announced that after the fire, 5 netizens spread false information about the cause of the fire and the number of deaths on social media. The authorities claim they did so to gain attention, leading to rumor spreading and misleading the public. The police have also taken administrative detention, fines, and admonishment actions against these 5 individuals. However, many netizens believe the authorities are covering up the truth and acted quickly to arrest people. One netizen said, "Everyone was asleep in the early hours, and only 1 person died? I don't believe it." Commentator Xu Ke pointed out that because the Chinese government's lack of transparency and the tendency to conceal disasters, arresting people for posting messages is reminiscent of the CCP's cover-up of the COVID-19 pandemic and its suppression of whistleblower Dr. Li Wenliang. On December 9th, a fire broke out in a building in Shantou, Guangdong Province.
Fire, fire! Quickly, call 119.
A video uploaded by a netizen shows that the fire started 3 shops on the first floor, with flames burning intensely and loud explosions. Thick black smoke quickly rose to the top of the building, and people on the scene could be heard screaming. At the time of the fire, the neighboring shops had already closed, and only a passerby on a bike was seen nearby. According to a fire department report from Shantou on December 10th, the fire started at 9:20 p.m. in a 4-story reinforced concrete building in the Chaonan district of Shantou. The fire spread over an area of about 150 square meters. By the morning of December 10th, the number of casualties had risen to 12. From the video, it can be seen that the building was located on a street with a hardware store on the first floor and residential apartments on the 3 floors above. The building had reinforced concrete structure, and all those had anti-theft bars, making it extremely difficult for residents to escape. The fire reportedly started in the Yufeng hardware and electrical store, which has been in business since 2010. It sold home appliances, electromechanical products, and hardware tools. On the morning of December 10th, the daughter of the building's owner stated that all the victims were her relatives, including her father, mother, grandmother, younger brother, and his children. She also mentioned that her brother was not at home at the time, and only her sister-in-law managed to escape. Photos from the scene show the building's exterior was blackened by smoke and fire. The windows on the 2nd to 4th floors were shattered, and the window frames and insulation materials had been almost completely burned. A local villager mentioned that they had often bought things from the hardware store, and the store stored large amounts of hydraulic oil, motor oil, gear oil, and other flammable materials. Netizens commented, "Why were the doors still closed? These self-built houses always have 2 locks on the door at night. It's so scary." Recently, fires have been occurring frequently across China. On the early morning of December 7th, a fireworks and firecracker warehouse in the Tea-Horse ancient town in Yunnan suddenly caught fire. Fireworks and firecrackers were continuously ignited. Thick smoke billowed from the surrounding area, and the area affected by the fire was about 1,500 square meters. The fire broke out at around 2:40 a.m. on the 7th, with thick, heavy smoke on the scene. According to preliminary investigations, the building on fire was a hardware warehouse. Netizens reported being woken up in the middle of the night by sounds of fireworks, initially wondering if it was a festival. Later, they learned that the Tea-Horse ancient town was on fire. On the afternoon of December 9th, a fire broke out at a warehouse near the 12th Middle School in Guilin, Guangxi. On the night of December 8th, a fire broke out near the Oyada Mall in Wuhu, Anhui. According to videos uploaded by netizens, flames and thick smoke were clearly visible at the scene. Some netizens mentioned hearing explosions, and many parked cars were also affected by the fire. That same night, a reporter from a Chinese media outlet called the Wuhu Fire Department for information. The staff member said, "The open flames have been extinguished, but the specific time, cause, and whether there are casualties are still unclear." This is the typical way the Chinese government handles reports of accidents, either delaying the reports or hiding the truth. Also on the night of December 8th, a fire broke out near Xiaoyusongnu village in Longhua district, Shenzhen. A video from the scene shows flames on the exterior wall of a high-rise building. Nearby business owners reported noticing the fire at around 7 or 8 p.m. They heard people shouting outside, but the fire was later extinguished. They stated that the fire started in a chimney attached to the exterior wall, not within the building itself. On December 9th, the Longhua District Office of Shenzhen released a statement clarifying that the fire occurred on the first floor of a building in the Songhe community, where a range hood caught fire and ignited the external exhaust pipe. On the morning of December 4th, a fire broke out in a 3-story residential building in Chuxi Road, Huangpu District, Shanghai. It occurred around 10 a.m. Thick smoke poured from the building. Witnesses reported seeing an elderly person jump from the second floor while trying to escape, and the injured person was taken to the hospital.
Wow, the fire is getting bigger and bigger. This is terrible. It's not being put out. The flames are spreading more and more.
A video from the scene shows the old building engulfed in flames, with wires sparking inside and thick smoke covering the entire building. Flames could be seen emerging from the roof. Several fire trucks were parked at the intersection, but seemed unable to enter the narrow alley. A group of firefighters worked on extinguishing the fire outside the building, with one firefighter carrying a trapped person from the building. Authorities have not reported any specific details about casualties. On December 5th, a fire broke out at the Century Jingjie Mall. Flames and thick smoke quickly filled the mall and spread into the metro station, causing heavy smoke in the station hall and leading to an emergency evacuation. The metro station resumed operation in the afternoon, but no casualties have been reported. In mainland China, the frequent occurrence of fires has been compared to the devastating fire in Hong Kong. On November 26, a massive fire broke out at the Wong Fuk Court residential complex in Hong Kong. As of December 9th, the police reported 160 deaths, with 6 people still missing. However, some family members question the official death toll and the number of missing persons, arguing that the actual figures may be much higher, as police only counted confirmed bodies, and some victims may not have had family members report them as missing. The Hong Kong government's use of national security measures in response to the fire has been heavily criticized. On December 6th, the Hong Kong Police National Security Department arrested a 71-year-old man, marking the first publicly acknowledged arrest related to criticism of how the government handled the fire. Hong Kong's National Security Department chief, Steve Lee Kai-wah, told the media that the man had incited hatred against the Hong Kong government and the central government, calling them the culprits behind the disaster, and claiming that Beijing's support for Hong Kong in the aftermath was merely for show. Since the implementation of the national security law in Hong Kong 5 years ago, it has been used by both the Chinese government and the Hong Kong government to crack down on dissent. The law has led to arrests on charges of incitement, drawing international condemnation. The cause of the Wong Fuk Court fire, which occurred on November 26, remains unknown. The incident has sparked public discussions about government accountability. Earlier, a group of citizens formed the Taipo Wong Fuk Court Fire Concern Group and started an online petition demanding a thorough investigation. One of the petition organizers was arrested on November 29th for allegedly inciting unrest. On November 30th, another man and woman were arrested by the National Security Department for allegedly inciting hatred against the government. The two were former Hong Kong legislator Chong Kim-hung and a female volunteer who had distributed supplies at the fire. Recently, the Student Union of Hong Kong Baptist University posted on campus a banner mourning the victims, but it was quickly covered by the school authorities, who demanded that the student union cease operations. In response to the government's arrests, netizens on social media criticized the Hong Kong authorities, asking, "Does Hong Kong still have human rights? People who speak out for the fire victims are being arrested." Hong Kong seems to be increasingly aligning with mainland China's practices. The actions of the Hong Kong government are similar to those of the Chinese authorities in mainland China, who arrest netizens under the guise of cracking down on rumors. In fact, many fires in mainland China have not led to investigations, and citizens struggle to protect their rights. On the night of January 19, 2024, a fire broke out in the dormitory of a school in Henan province. 13 elementary school students, averaging only 9 years old, tragically lost their lives. 4 others were injured. The on-site investigation of the school fire revealed that the dormitory building's internal walls and ceiling were made from highly flammable materials like polyurethane foam, which burned at 3 times the speed of the national standard. The 2 fire extinguishers available had expired 6 months earlier, and the automatic sprinkler system was rusted and blocked. The fire alarm control system was in manual mode. There was only one exit door, and the exterior security bars on the dormitory had no escape window. At the time, the investigation team in Henan said they would conduct a thorough investigation into the cause of the accident, the nature of the fire, and the firefighting equipment. However, 2 years have passed, and the investigation results have yet to be released. Over these 2 years, the families of the victims have repeatedly inquired with relevant authorities, only to receive responses such as, "We don't know," or "Please wait." On December 8th, multiple Chinese outlets reported that the victims' families were taken to a hotel arranged by local authorities. They were asked to sign a compensation agreement with staff from a group called the Consolation Group, implying that the families would not be allowed to view the bodies of their children unless they signed. They were also told that the compensation amount would be reduced by 100,000 yuan for each day the signing was delayed. Faced with this pressure, the families were forced to sign the agreement in order to see their children's remains. A Chinese blogger expressed their anger.
Such a major fire should be on the front page of every country's news, but here, it took almost 3 years for media from other regions to report it. What's even more disgusting is that after the fire, the government's first move was to force the families to sign an agreement threatening to reduce compensation by 100,000 yuan for every day they delayed, and not letting them see the bodies if they didn't sign. Is this our traditional way of handling things? I've never heard of pressuring families with the bodies of their children anywhere else in the world, especially not with such young children, at an age when they haven't even fully opened their eyes to this world. In their final moments, they wanted to rest in their parents' arms, yet they still had to meet conditions. I don't know if the people who can do such a thing are my kind, whether they share the same DNA as me. Now, days have passed, and the cause of the fire is still unclear, and responsibility remains uncertain. Let's see how long they can drag this on.
Some netizens commented, "China doesn't have real journalists. Huawei covered up the deaths of 4 people for a whole year. They protect each other." One of the most telling examples of the Chinese government's indifference to disaster relief was the 1994 Karamay fire in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region. Officials were heard saying the phrase, "Let the leaders go first." The fire, which occurred on December 8, 1994, resulted in 325 deaths, including 288 students. A report from China Youth Daily mentioned that during the fire, someone shouted, "Let the leaders go first." Several surviving students later confirmed to media that a female leader had indeed said this during the fire. To this day, the true context of this phrase remains the subject of many interpretations, but it clearly reflects the privilege and disregard for the safety of ordinary citizens. That's the mindset of the authoritarian Chinese government. Netizens have expressed regret and sympathy for the innocent children who lost their lives in the Karamay fire. The folk singer Zhou Yunpeng's song, "Chinese Children," mentions this tragedy, repeating the line, "Don't be a child of China." The song was censored. Chinese affairs expert Yue Shan believes that we should not assume that the Chinese Communist Party, which caused the deaths of tens of millions of people after its establishment, has changed. The same CCP that during the pandemic engaged in extreme lockdown measures still operates under an authoritarian mindset. From the 1994 Karamay fire to the 2022 Xinjiang fire, where rescue efforts were hindered by lockdowns, all the way to today's crackdown in Hong Kong, all these illustrate the high-pressure totalitarian model of governance that the CCP enforces.
When it comes to maintaining prostate and breast health, you deserve a proactive approach, one that supports wellness from within. Introducing Best Doctors WBM Rex, your natural supplement to support prostate and breast health, boost immune function, and enhance overall wellness. Packed with powerful ingredients like white button mushrooms, noto ginseng, and antioxidants, WBM Rex helps maintain healthy PSA levels, reduces inflammation, and supports cellular health in the prostate and breast. With added energy-boosting Panax noto ginseng and immune-boosting beta-glucans, WBM Rex helps you stay active, healthy, and full of vitality. Clinically backed and made with plant-based ingredients, WBM Rex is your go-to solution for long-term wellness and balance. Gift the joy of health this Christmas with WBM Rex, because the well-being of your loved ones matters. And don't forget, use our special discount code CO2025 at checkout to get 20% off your order, exclusively for our China Observer viewers.